Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome to another unboxing for Massive Darkness. This is the sequel, Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape. This is a standalone sequel. It is, continues the same story as the first Massive Darkness game. It's like a follow-up game. Lots of the same rules and overall game design applies, but there's a lot of updates. It is not backwards or cross-compatible. Normally, there is a separate upgrade pack you can get. It was a Kickstarter exclusive pack, though, so to find it, you're probably going to have to hunt down, maybe spend a little bit of money. But in case, so if you want to do that, if you want to look for that and you want to see whether it's worth picking it up for the new content, there's that. Or if you're, hey, maybe this is new and you've seen this in the store, this is something you want to pick up, we're going to go through this. This is a huge box. Excuse me. A lot of miniatures, a lot of cool content. I'm not going to do too much comparison to the original game in this video. If you watched my previous Massive Darkness 1 series of videos, I tried not to do a lot of comparison this direction either, because I wanted each video to kind of stand on its own, and then after I post all the videos for Massive Darkness 2, I will do a comparison video between the two, so you can really see what the differences between the two of them are. So look for that if you're looking for that video. Yeah, this is a big giant box. So we're going to get the core set, which is Hellscape. There's also a second set called Heavenfall, which adds a campaign mode to the game. So if you want to, you can play through all the different quests, and then you can use that. It actually adds a board and a marketplace, and it adds more things like you carry on from quest to quest versus every quest is starting over brand new. So we'll check out that video if you want to see what's in there. If you're wondering what the basic idea of Massive Darkness is it's a dungeon crawling board game. Uses miniatures. So we're gonna get all these different components, but you're crawling through a dungeon, exploring it, fighting the monsters in there, leveling up your characters, and you have lots of different classes. Every class plays very differently in this game, which is one of the things I really love about it. There's a credits to all these awesome people that worked on this. This is by Simon Games, and why can't I remember the name of the other company? Of course it doesn't tell me on here. It is this ladder. It's the name escapes me, and it probably said it on the beginning. I don't know, I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, that's alright, so we're gonna have this. There's a lot of components in this game. Again, this box is not lying when it's called Massive Darkness. It's a gorgeous box as well. So on the outside, we have some of the different bosses and enemies we can fight. Some of the heroes. Some more bad guys. And some more heroes. There are 6 heroes to play as. There's a lot of content to go through. There's a bunch of expansions. A lot of them were Kickstarter exclusives. But you might be able to find them from gaming stores that back those Kickstarters. But we're going to have, and we'll go through all these components to get through them. We have dashboards. You have 6 heroes. Their signature cards, all the different equipment for all the character stuff. Yeah, another 2 pages. You have all boards, you have all these different miniatures, lots of those, all these different cards. There's a ton of cards and tokens. So we'll go through all that stuff. Story. Now in this video, I'm gonna go through try and skim through quickly, just the idea of how the game is played. But I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing an exact how to play video. If you really want to see something like that, let me know and I'll try and get one of those out. But basically the game, I'm going to flip right to the back, we can look at it. The game has a couple of different phases. You have your hero phase. So each hero has 3 actions. 3 action points to do. With those actions, you can move, attack, trade and equip, recover, or do special actions. Movement points. Every time you decide to move, you get 2 move points, which can be used to move to other zones on the map. Open doors, which add chambers which reveal enemies, or interact with objects such as treasure chests or switch or special items you need to do in the game. You can attack. There's 3 attack ranges. There's melee, which is up close, magic, which hits up to 1 space away, and range, which can hit to more than 1 space away. Trade and equip your items. This is active for all hero zone. Activate the hero zone for all heroes in that zone to freely trade and equip items. So you can hand off, hey, I got this. I have an awesome sword, but I don't need this hammer anymore, or I don't need 2 sets of armor. You can help out your fellow allies. Recover, gain up to 2 health or mana. I love the fact that there's a recovery option, just because it makes it feel like I can spend a turn just recovering or healing, or I can move and I can heal for a point or 2. So if you have stuff that punishes you, or if you're going to take damage from an attack or whatever, it doesn't seem as bad, because at least you have an auto way of healing every turn. And then special actions, just various characters, abilities, or cards they might have, weapons or equipment to give them action abilities. Then after the hero's move, after a hero takes his turn, you have the enemy phase, which mobs activate. Mobs are a group of the more basic enemies, and they get 2 actions, which is very simple. They try to attack you. If they can't attack you, then they move towards you. If they can attack you, they will attack you twice. Very simple AI. And then we have roaming monsters, which are a little bit bigger monsters, who are going to have special cards that will tell them how they're going to interact. So some of them might say they do this or that. And then finally there are bosses. But bosses wait until after everything's done, then they attack. So basically the heroes get to do their stuff, they get to run around and attack, they can try and defeat enemies. If they don't defeat all the enemies get to go ahead and try and do stuff. Then you get to level up your character. So rather than having to wait till the end of the game or anything like that, you gain XP as you defeat enemies. And then it's also nice because if you defeat a small enemy, you gain XP, but as you defeat bigger enemies, everyone on the party gains XP. So it really helps for you to work as a team and not be like, hey, let's all go 4 different directions. Because if you work together, you're going to stay alive, and you're going to actually be able to beat stuff. Now you can separate a little bit, but you don't probably want to separate completely across the entire map. But it might depend on what map it is. Then we have the darkness phase, which advances the darkness track, which is basically a timer as well as a threat indicator. So the harder that gets, it's going to make stuff harder and harder to fight. It's going to spawn mobs, spawn roaming monsters. You're going to add some more treasure to the bag. And then you're going to... so that's basically you, and then the boss will attack after that. So it's 4 steps. You take your turn, enemies go, you level up, you advance the stage. And then bosses. If you're fighting a boss will attack. But usually if there's a boss, there's usually not an enemy. Because once you enter an enemy's area, their lair, you're just fighting the boss. Not to say they might not spawn other enemies, though. Combat is very interesting how that works. Which we'll kind of get there. So we're going to kind of flip to some of these other pages. I don't want to spend a ton of time. Hero boards, we'll look at all these as we get there. There's character cards, skill cards, treasure cards, items, how different enemy cards are. We'll look at all those when we get there. Roaming monsters are bigger, so they actually tell. Bosses have their big own dashboard. They have their own set of rules. Here's how your different areas you can move around the board. There's light areas and there's dark areas. If you're in a shadow, you can potentially gain a special ability and you get to roll extra dice. But if you're in a light area, you don't. So it's kind of neat. And then door cards add extra elements when you go into special rooms. So here's a setup for the paladin, it looks like. So he's got his hero card, his starting equipment, levels, and his basic cards. Then here's what an overall full game will look like. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff sitting out here. So depending on which mission you're doing, you'll have certain enemies sitting out ready to go. So they can spawn in at any time, or if you have like a bucket sitting off to the side, we have each player off to the side. It can play up to 6 players, which is really exciting. Alright, so I'm not going to go into too much of all of this, we just kind of over there. But the instruction book does do a really good job of explaining how movement works. So like this character has 2 move points, and saying here's all these different points where he can move and how he can move there. How doors work, revealing treasures, stuff like that. These are very good guides for explaining how everything works. There's only like one thing I kind of got confused by, and it was during a setup, because there's an icon for summoning mobs and enemies when you first start the game versus summoning them during the game. And like the one difference is a little color behind them. They don't really directly explain it, but once someone points it out, you're like, oh, duh, they look different. I get that. So here's how you do it if you want to do combat, is it's actually very interesting how it works. Instead of like lots of games where a hero rolls their dice and then they compare them to the villain's dice, you gather any dice that need to be rolled and you roll them all at the same time. So like, so this is showing here, this hero is going to, they're going to roll whatever, they're not showing their dice on here, but they roll a red and yellow die for their attack weapon. So they got a red and yellow, and then they also have a skill that lets them roll an extra yellow. So they got the red, 2 yellows, and a red. And then the enemy here has 1 blue defense die. And then they're also going to get a roll extra die for their attacking. For each minion that you're fighting, they get to roll an extra die. So it says 2 black dice for each minion you're fighting. So that's how many enemies are on that tile you're fighting. So you're going to take all 6 of them dice, and you're going to roll them at the same time. And then whatever the die rolls come out to, say they're showing that it came out to all these different effects, you have to, then you have to do any of the special facing, so not the swords and not the shields, but any other things you have to complete. And there's a couple different ones. But you can do them in whatever order works. So, like, there's a little mana symbol, so you can gain a point of mana. There's the bad guy symbol, the slash does damage to you, and then the shadow does whatever the enemy's shadow ability does. So you can activate them in whatever order maybe works. So, like, for this character, they activated taking damage first because they're a barbarian character, or berserker. So it gets them an extra chance to use their special berserker abilities. Now maybe another character might not have wanted to do that. Sometimes it's not going to make a whole lot of difference in the order you do some of them, but maybe another character might want to gain mana first, because then they can spend their mana, that mana to then maybe create a shield that protects them from 1 point of damage. They didn't have the mana beforehand. Then once all said and done, you compare how many swords there are to how many shields there are, and that's how much damage is done. This is very interesting that way. So special actions, set equipment, consumable items. I'm going to kind of flip through the rest of this very quick, because I'll probably actually start the unboxing in part 2 then, just because this is going to get to be a long video. So the level up phase, you get a level up. As you level up, you're going to gain extra stats. So we'll take a look more in depth on there. Here's the darkness phase. So each turn you go through, you move this darkness over. When you get to turn 3, you spawn extra roaming monsters, add extra treasure, spawn a mob. So basically the game, you have potential of getting better rewards, but you're also making the game harder. Bosses. This is a big, long book. This goes through all the special abilities, which is really fun. I love these like cost requirements. Like, this is a nice page. I almost wish this page was like a special leaflet or at the end of the book as well, because it just reminds you of what all these different things mean. So like X shadow or ignore or heal, like lots of them are very intuitive, but it's still nice to have. And there's special tokens and zones and things you can interact with. Pillars, fountains, chests, which have bridges. Lots of different stuff there. Then this does a really cool job of going through how each hero class works. So we have the wizard, who's going to have this special spell guile. The paladin, which has concentration tokens. The berserker, which has stances and a rage meter. The rogue, who actually has a treasure bag, just to do different actions. The shaman, who's going to have various elemental magics and spirits. The ranger, who has an arrow bag. And I'll go over all of these in a little bit more detail when we look at the characters. But yeah, it's nice to go through all that. Then there's a giant index. And then finally we have a bunch of quests. So we're just going to look at the tutorial one here quick. And I'm not going to go through all of them, because you don't want to spoil everything. But it's going to tell you, like, up here, like, what's the objective, what tiles are needed, how to defeat it, special rules for doing stuff. It's going to show you how to lay out the tiles. So wait, this tile here, this one there. Then it's going to also show them. And then where to put all the starting stuff. Like you put starting zone here. You put your doors there on the closed side. You have two different objectives, one on each side. Mobs, those start here when you open this door. Treasures, they'll be here when you enter this room. And then the exit token. So basically, if you're playing this map, what you gotta do is your characters have to go to one of these two doors, open them. When they open them, treasures and mobs are going to spawn. Treasures are based on the number of characters playing. Mobs will be up wherever you pull off the pile. Your objective is to grab this item, pick it up, and take it and interact with this item. So someone has to at least go in there, get that item, and then they could try and escape while the other one's fight. Or you could all just take them out at the same time. Kind of just depends on how you want to do it. But in this one, there's not a lot of other stuff to do. But it's a tutorial mission. But now if we look at, for example, this one here. So this is the second one. Now we're going to have a lot more stuff. There's going to be spawn zones for regular mobs, for roaming monsters. There's starting zones up here. There's a doorway here with a treasure in it. Doorway here with a treasure chest and some more treasure, but there's also a monster. There's a spike pit. Monsters, they'll start here because that's a circle one. You have some locked doors here, repair kits. This one has a treasure in it. Then you have to go through this door here to get into these areas to interact with those. There's monsters waiting here. So there's a lot of stuff to do, but it gives you some options. So either you can just say, screw these treasures, and you can try and run through. You're going to have to deal with that spike trap. Or you could try and go through this door and go around it. Or you could go through this one, go through the spike trap, or have to go around anyhow. So some different options there. And the same thing when you get to this middle here. You could ignore both treasure rooms if you really wanted to. You could go through, but my guess is you're going to have to interact with both of these things. So you're probably going to have to go down through both of them. But yeah, it gives you some different options. Plus, these monsters keep spawning. So the longer you take, more and more monsters, or harder monsters, are going to keep coming. And then just to kind of quickly do a glance through these, things get pretty ridiculously full. They have different patterns, different connecting zones as well. Yeah, so that is the basics of the game. That's our rulebook. So we'll start off with part 2, where we'll start going through some of the components. Alright, see you guys there. Bye.